I wanted to talk about this very important intentional mindset on cultivating peace learning in our families. And one of the first sort of foundations for doing this is understanding the story of human rights. So, I think when it comes to parenting, it is our duty and responsibility to teach our children about their rights. And so where do we start with this? The best place to start is to start with the story of human rights and to put it into their languages at every age and stage of development. Because as you know, it takes about 10,000 times of repetition for the brain or the mind to wire, integrate, and become cohesive in understanding the concept of peace learning as it relates to the story of human rights and children's rights and who we are as human beings. So oftentimes here in my office, when I work with families, I remind them to go back to their Declaration of Human Rights. Oftentimes when I'm working with the Iranian American families, I remind them of Cyrus Cylinder and why it's crucial, it's critical for us to talk about Cyrus, his leadership, why Cyrus emphasized that. I'm going to read one of my favorite quotes from him. He emphasized that people are here to live in all religions and take up a job provided that they never violate others' rights. So if you think of it, that's pretty deep. Take a moment to unpack that for your children. Why is it important for us as human beings not to violate each other when it comes to playing? So what that means on the playground, sort of my rights, your rights, and our rights. What does it mean in the context of being a team player in soccer, basketball? Not to violate your rights, our rights, my rights, to have awareness of our rights. And it translates to many, many different things that you can actually unpack for your children. Why is it important for them to have their voice heard, to have their own identities, to feel confident about who they are, but also to be aware and sensitive and have empathy for their friend and their companion or their teammate or the opposite team players. So very, very critical for us to unpack this peace learning from the ground up, from the early years. Very, very important, because in the early years, we're planting those seeds of peace learning. And it will be wonderful. You will see the results. These kids grow up to be respectful towards themselves. They have self-compassion, but more importantly, they can be compassionate and empathize and be vulnerable with their friends. And so I highly recommend talking to your kids about the story of human rights. I'm going to cover this on MomTalk, but I also want to invite you, if you have an interest, especially if you have an elementary school kid, a middle school kid, a high school kid, to reach out to youthforhumanrights.org. They will send you these brochures for free. And if you become an educator, you become part of a very massive and wonderful network of leaders, peace learning leaders, who are cultivating how to honor our human rights. And that's step one, my friend. That's step one for peace learning parenting.